Okay, welcome to this panel about Finnish game industry, and the topic today is navigating the global developments. As we know, the games industry is constantly evolving, and there is always new challenges and new opportunities ahead of us. And Finnish games industry has been quite good in utilizing this kind of disruptions and different changes in the changes in the environment. So if we think about, for instance, the 20 years ago, or almost 20 years ago, this industry was very small. We had like 40 studios, we had like 600 people working in the industry, and the turnover of the whole industry was 40 million, which is way less than the turnover of some studios or many studios today. And we have been developing quite fast, and in these 20 years we have multiplied our turnover, we have multiplied our employee account, we have multiplied the number of studios, and so on and so forth. But today I have couple of, or actually three people talking about what's ahead of us, because how do we respond to these local challenges? And these people are people who should know something about it. So could you basically introduce yourself?
Okay, hello, my name is Taina Myöhänen. I've started in the games industry back in 2006. I've been working with the startups. Also, I was with Rovio before Rovio made an Angry Birds. And nowadays I'm a researcher in Tampere University researching the game industry. So I'm kind of trying to get, but not getting very far. Thank you.
Okay, Peter.
Okay, yes, now we're live.
You can start over.
Yes, so yes, also at Rovio, and actually, I've been in the games industry before that, so and actually Rovio came out of a game making competition that I organized in 2003, so that was like before iPhone and Android and like all of that stuff. But I was working at actually the original tech startup, so the company that Bill and Dave started in their garage in Palo Alto in California in 1939, before my time. Need to say when we have younger people here in the audience, but anyway, so that was like HP, and there I was pretty much like in that corporation, the only one going to GDC and like all of that, and yeah, so it's great to be here, and as Kope said, I mean the industry has come a long way, so from kind of like nothing to kind of like not nothing, so we're in pretty good shape, and I think that we're, as I always like to say, that we're off to a good start.
And one of the things, when you were working in the Rovio, you were known as Mighty Eagle.
Yes.
And nowadays you are digging a tunnel to Tallinn, so should we call you Mighty Mole?
Yeah, I think that Mighty Mole like sounds pretty cool. I need to see if I should put that on my cards, but I think that could be pretty cool. So
remember, it was my idea.
Yeah, I will credit you, and then I think that it's all about characters. So like no matter if you're building a little tunnel or you're making games, characters are like what it's all about.
All about IPs.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, Oliver, you are from Helsinki Partners, and Peter asked you before we started this, what do you actually do?
Yes.
So could you give an explanation?
I will, just now. So Helsinki Partners, very shortly, it's owned by the city of Helsinki, and we do investing, marketing, and talent attraction. So it's not so that we do talent attraction, but my experience has been before that in over 15 years in attracting companies to Finland and Helsinki. And when we attract companies, we attract people also. So, but nowadays, one of the huge gap that we have is the number of talents. Before we were selling, we have great talents in Finland, we still have, but now we don't have enough of them, enough people. So we need to attract more of you guys from abroad. But doing so, what we do practically, so we use our marketing power to do a lot of social media campaigns where we sell why Finland is interesting, especially for international talents, for gaming industry and others as well. We have a lot of gaming companies already clients in our campaign. One is going on, Helsinki Exposed is the name, and basically it's very concrete. We have a lot of good information about why Helsinki is so cool. And then also companies are mentioned, they have their descriptions, and there is a call to action button. They can, if they're interested, the people looking at the pages, I want to apply to that company's open positions. I click, I apply, and that's the first step to get into Finland and Helsinki.
So basically I quite often get questions from companies interested in coming to Finland that who should take contact, and that basically means that you are the contact point when it comes to Helsinki.
There is many contact points, but they can start with me if they wish.
Yeah.
Because we take care of what I just explained. But I have a lot of colleagues in the city doing the relocations. There is International House Helsinki. There is spouse program. There is a lot of support programs to help people coming in and their families as well.
Yeah. And I guess that one of the things is the families. We always have to remember that these people who come to Helsinki, who are experts on their field, they typically have families. So
yeah, you're right. And as a single person, to be honest, it's easier. But once you bring the family, it's a little bit more complicated. But nothing is impossible.
More complicated, I would say. So.
Yeah.
Hey, but we already touched the subject about the growth in the Finnish games industry, or the history of the Finnish games industry, in a way that we have been growing a lot, and we started very humbly from the garage. Actually, some actually did that. But if you think about the growth, what do you think, Peter, first, that what have been the factors which have contributed to the growth of the Finnish games industry in these 10 or 20 years?
I think that first of all, like the whole thing has started very much like grassroots, and like the assembly events and like people getting together, making demos, making games, playing games. So that's been going on for like a long time. So I think that it was actually already like many years ago. There was somebody from like the Finnish government that said that they've done like a fantastic job because they invested very little in the development of this games industry, and it became amazing. So that's one way of looking at it, and I would say that the government had like very little or nothing to do with it, except of course, I mean, we have fantastic education here in Finland, so I mean that's always like a good starting point, that people know what they're doing and all of that. And but I think that then starting from this kind of like very humble and modest like grassroots activity, then of course we had things like Angry Birds, and we had like a few success stories, and I think like then like Ilkka and the guys at Supercell said that okay, if the Rovio guys can do that, then so can we, and of course they did, and they did much bigger. So I think that that is something that is very, very important, because I mean I talk to a lot of games companies outside of Finland, and I think that big challenge always is that there is no kind of like role models. There is nobody there that has been successful. I mean, if you go back like, I don't know, 10, even like maybe 15 years, then you used to have to explain that, if you're working on games, that then you're like, yeah, but when are you going to get a real job? And you're going to start doing something real. Nowadays, if you work in games, you don't have to explain. People know that, okay, it's a big business. People are making a lot of money, so like it's a real job. So I think that there's like a lot of these kind of things that have happened, and it's always like a combination of things. It's not just like, okay, we did this one thing and now it's like amazing. But I think it's a combination that we had a very kind of like fertile ground to grow, because we had a lot of talent and we managed to attract a lot of talent. Yeah, many things that were done right. And then I think if you go back to the beginning, we didn't have like there was kind of like two things that were missing. It was like the capital and talent. And now I think we have the talent, we have the capital, and actually I would say that we have the capital is not so much like a problem, but the talent is like a huge problem, and we need to do whatever we can to attract more talent here. And I think this is something that, I mean, also one thing that why we're here at this event. The ones with the talent will win. So we need to make sure that that's us.
Yeah. So one of the things with the games industry is that typically people tend to think that it's a technology industry, but it's not. It's a human industry. Yeah, it's all about humans. It's all about the employees, and it's all about the players. And that's something we should take into consideration when we talk about the games industry. Yes. But Taina, I know that you have been quite a lot in the community side. Typically when we talk about the Finnish games industry, community is always mentioned. Well, how do you see the community of the Finnish games industry? What is the value of it for the industry overall?
Well, I see obviously that the community is the most important thing, and I think the community in the Finnish game industry has been great. We also have these support organizations like Neo Games, which are kind of bringing it as well, but I think the community makes a feeling of belonging and feeling like, oh, I want to work here, I want to stay here. Obviously, we are not succeeding all the time. There is still work to do, but that was the reason why I changed from ICT to games, for example, because I love the community and how people are helping each other out and, you know, supporting each others.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, humans and community is one of the key ingredients of the
Definitely. And I've heard people from abroad coming and they are like, what is this? Why people are so friendly and why they are sharing this information, which is kind of, I feel, not so typical in the other parts of the world.
Yeah. If you think about the growth, I think that if you take a look at the statistics, which actually we are made by us, so that's the reason why I know them quite well. So around half of the Finnish game companies are in capital area. So basically in Helsinki, Espoo, and Vantaa. Yes. And what is the reason for that? So is it your doings, or do you see some other reasons for that?
Well, I think we talked about community. Of course, obviously you have a very big community here around the capital area, let's say. And many of the headquarters are here of the companies. So I think it's one reason, and it will grow around because, well, you know, we used to sell Finland and saying gaming is one of the main industry, growing, thriving, and all that, and we're using those business arguments. But nowadays, what we called before soft arguments are more important. It's more like, hey, you want to come here? Sure, you have a nice industry, you have great talents, and you want to go with that kind of people here. That's one thing. But then once they are here, you have to make sure that they are really enjoying their time, like within the community, the business, the work community, but also outside of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that nowadays, as we need so much of these talents, and we want to attract more of them, it pushes also companies probably to be even more, you know, tight on these things and have a good atmosphere, ambience at work, and it goes around the premises themselves. It goes around maybe some services around for the families, maybe some hobbies organized for the talents.
Yeah,
name it.
Yeah. So you know, many times what happens is that you're like hiring talent, but you end up with people. You know, it happens all the time.
That's a good definition. Looking for a talent, ending up with the people. And it's very true what you said about the overall environment. So if you think about Finnish game company's office like 15 years ago when Rovio's office was in Annankatu, I remember I visited there in 2008 or just before the Younger Birds. It's a little bit different than the Rovio's office, for instance, today. So it was very modest, I would say.
Nice. Cozy.
Cozy, yeah.
I would say.
If you want to use that word, let's call it cozy.
I wasn't there when they were doing the renovation on that pipeline, so
it was pretty bad.
You were there.
Yeah, but
I left just before.
Basically, that's something which has changed a lot. So the environment in an office environment, it's totally different today. I think that most fancy offices I have seen anywhere when it comes to the games industry, they are in the Nordic countries and in Helsinki especially. So if you like fancy office, come to Helsinki. There is a lot of fancy offices in Helsinki.
And maybe, may I add something?
Yep.
So I was thinking, like, especially to be with people, like, really, like, face to face.
Yeah.
I talked to some companies we have as client, and they say, you know, even if we have the facility of working remotely and all that, at some point it's good to have a real community where people are together and exchange ideas and have this creativity going on all the time.
Yep.
So that didn't change.
And it was a good remark in a way that we are going to publish our new study about the Finnish game industry in mid-May. And one of the findings we had is that almost 30% of the employees of the game industry today, they prefer remote working, and companies make it possible for them. So even if we have fancy offices, there is always a possibility for do your work remotely, and that's one of the things I think that it was caused by Corona actually.
Yes. Yes. accelerated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this is also again, if you look at like pandemic and remote working and all of that, and then if you look at what's happening in the US and like some other areas where you have to go to the office, it's like mandatory. And do you know why that is?
Yeah.
It's because of lack of trust.
Yeah.
And in Finnish society, trust. That's what it's built on.
Yeah.
So here we trust people. So yeah, if you want to work remotely from your like house, no problem. We know that you'll do what you're expected to do, and it's not a problem because we trust you. But if you have a company where people and a society where you can't be trusted, then of course you can't have remote work because people will not get anything done. So I think that this is again some of these like soft values and some of these strengths. So I think that it's the easiest thing in the world is to attract talent, to attract people to Finland. I mean, it's super easy.
Okay, so that was good pep talk. You are very good in pep talks, Peter. Did you know that? Hey, well, next question. What do you think about the Finnish education? We have been discussing a lot about the talent and incoming talent from different other countries. What do you think about the Finnish game education system? And Taina, what is your take to this?
I'm a bit biased to talk nowadays on university and being the lecturer before as well. I think we are doing great. There are still gaps we need to fill, but I think that we are putting the effort because there is a need for the game industry, and then the schools are making that. So I think that is very important. So it's not just like, oh, they are just doing that. We still have, in some parts, at least some globally, that the games are not seen as a real job. But I think in Finland is kind of understood nowadays that the games can be a real job and make a good money.
So actually, it's something you can do to get your livelihood from by making games.
Yes.
So it's not like are never going to get any penny by playing that guitar, which allegedly was said by John Lennon's mother to John Lennon. So it's not the way anymore.
Yeah, but I remember when I started in the industry, it was still like people were faking, like we are not in a games. They were lying that they are nurses or working in the engineering in some places because it was really uncool to be in games. Yeah. So it kind of switched very fastly when Angry Birds did what it did.
What is your take about this game education system, Peter? Do you have something to say?
I think that, again, I kind of like work with game studios like all over the planet, and I think that we have fantastic education in general, but also fantastic education when it comes to games. And what makes it fantastic is that it exists. I mean, if you go to most places, then it's still like, games. Yeah, right. Like, can you study that anywhere? No, because like, why would anybody study, like games? And I think that also we don't kind of like realize it here, but because it's there. But also that it's over the years become very, very, let's say, sophisticated. So it's not just that you can study like games, but there's like many different things, and we all know that. I mean, the industry nowadays, I mean, it has become very, very specialized, and it's not that I studied games, but like what exactly, like
programming or back-end programming or kind of divisions or disciplines, if you will.
So. And like psychology and like all of these like things that people outside the games have no clue that you actually need to know, like a lot of things to make great games.
Yeah, and one of the things with the games industry nowadays is that the misconception is that there is only programmers and graphic designers and designers. Well, if you think about bigger companies, as you mentioned, there is people with all kind of backgrounds. So there is people with a humanistic background, and there is people with psychology, and I think that there is actually one priest working for the Finnish games industry. It was one of those companies making these horror games.
And nuclear scientist and this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So there is a lot of people with different backgrounds working in the games industry, and I think that the oldest Finnish game education started almost 20 years ago. Olli-Matti, you remember? Was it 2004, 2005? So the oldest existing Finnish game, still existing Finnish game education started like 2005, which makes it 18 years old. So we have some kind of pedigree in the game education also. Hey, but let's go to the another subject, because as we know, the world is in a disarray at the moment. There is a lot of turmoil. There is a lot of bad things happening. There was a coronavirus. Well, we didn't suffer from the coronavirus, but now there is war in Ukraine. There is inflation. There is economical depression coming, and that kind of stuff. So this is not very good news typically for industries. But how do you see that the games industry has been coping with this kind of challenges we have ahead?
I think Corona did great for the games industry. This is horrible, but people were playing quite a lot during the Corona times. So it's always like this. We shouldn't be praising that, but in the sense, it did good for the industry. So
yeah. I guess that the growth games industry in general was like 10% in Europe in the first Corona year, and it was even a little bit bigger during the second Corona year. So basically, the games industry has been growing during the Corona. But how about the ongoing turbulences? What do you think about those? How we are going to cope with those?
that's a good question. How many hours we have to answer this? You want to say something, Peter?
Yeah, but I think that, I mean, if you look at the pandemic and, all of that, I mean, one way of looking at it is that when you have strong enough winds, even turkeys will fly. And then when you have like not so strong winds, then, the turkeys don't fly anymore. So I think that now a lot of games companies are suffering because, turkeys fly when you have strong enough winds. So we need to, of course, cope with that. And we are seeing now a lot of games companies that got used to this like pandemic, massive growth. And now it's not there anymore. But if you look at the games industry, like historically, always been doing very, very well, no matter what. And actually, I would say always doing better than pretty much everybody else when we have tough economy and tough economic times, because people want to escape and have like some fun and some entertainment. It's a little bit like kind of like movie industry, that then people go to the movies and they want to escape. And nowadays, of course, games, it's like the dominant form of entertainment. So I think that tough times typically are, not so tough for the games industry. But I think what we're seeing now is some tough times because we have had such great times during the pandemic. So that kind of like a little bit let people get away with it was a bit too easy.
Yeah.
And I think now we're seeing that
back in reality.
Yeah. Now it's like the normal thing, and then you have to again. I mean, it's a super competitive industry, so and we're competing for people's attention and time. So again, I think give it a year or two, we'll be in like pretty good shape again.
Yeah. So basically, what you are saying, and there has been some speculations, not only speculations, but some assumptions that the pandemic caused a growth spike, which wouldn't have happened without the pandemic, and now we are basically back on track. So we are on the normal growth curve, not on the enhanced growth curve.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you seen any influence about that kind of stuff, inflation and this kind of uncertainty, when you have been dealing with the companies coming to Finland, for instance?
Yeah, there has been lately some, let's say, difficulties for some of the companies that were not like 1 year ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, to come back to the question, I think it's for every industry, every people complicated this economic challenge with inflation crisis, energy crisis, and all that, and now the war and all that. But as Peter said, this is a strong industry that had wins before, and it's trendy. People likes that. We have great talent, so we have all the prerequisites that whatever way is how bad is the situation, it can manage better maybe than in some other industries.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. This is it was quite a good good thing you said that the games are the what was the prominent form of escapism or
Yeah, and it's yeah, absolutely, and it's like the dominant like form of
dominant,
entertainment.
yeah.
And I mean, if you look at like all of entertainment industry, I mean, games by far the biggest, and it's been like that for like a long time. So I think that again, when we have tough economic times, games will win, and some other forms of entertainment will do okay as well. But I think games nowadays, and it's also that, you know, and free to play, obviously, like it's a perfect model for that. That if you don't have like a lot of money, so you might not go to the movies, but you will download the latest and greatest game, and then before you know it, you'll end up spending some money there instead on like some other forms of entertainment. So that's just how it works.
So micropayments rule.
Yeah, I think that free to play is still like dominant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. There has been a lot of discussion about subscription and that kind of models, but free to play is still the very dominant model in the games industry. What do you think, if you think about we have been discussing a lot about the talent and how to get talent, obviously, when we are in this kind of occasion. So if you think about the best ways for Finnish game industry in different levels, how to attract the talent. So what for instance, if you think about specifically games industry and Helsinki partners, do you have some ideas how to pinpointly attract game industry talent to Helsinki?
Well, we didn't start from that specific gaming industry aspect, but more like really trying to understand how we could support the companies, more like, you know, bigger scale-ups companies to find the talents they were needed. It was obvious for them. They need now a lot of them. And naturally, there was a lot of gaming companies.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of it came by, I don't know, if we have like 1/3 of our clients, they are gaming companies. So we didn't have to but the one way how we want to do that, it's like there is many players providing this and that in the ecosystem. You know, there is a lot of things we don't do. We don't help in the relocation by itself. We don't, many things we don't do. But what companies told us, because we spent months last year on a service design project to ask them, what do they need? They say, oh no, we know how to recruit people, or we do ourselves, or we use a recruitment agency. We don't need especially your help there, but we need your help in making even Finland more, you know, known internationally. The awareness of Finland, the awareness in that case of Helsinki, because I represent Helsinki, but the capital region, the whole country goes together, and so how we do that. And so that's why we do the campaigns, and then we take the companies with us to be as concrete as possible. That's the way we choose to do things. Another way, also more passive, is also that it was recognized that companies, once they recruit, and gaming companies were saying that also, they would appreciate help in the fact that they wouldn't have themselves to dig informations for their talents to recruit, you know, how life is in Helsinki, what kind of papers they have to prepare, what kind of things they have to do. So we are almost done. we have been preparing a package of this kind of information that you can download, and companies can use that.
When is it going to be out? What is your due date?
Mid-May, I think.
Mid-May.
Yeah.
So it's you have the same due date as we do. So our report is going to be out in mid-May.
Oh, perfect.
So then you should have a whole package about the Finnish games industry, how to get Finland, what to do, who to call, and everything.
Yeah.
So
my point was not like we didn't have anything specific for gaming industry, but naturally it came.
Yeah.
Can I add something
Yes,
related?
You can always add
which
something.
I don't think we said already, but in Finland already there is, you know better, 28% of people working in the games abroad.
According to the new study, it's around 30. I don't reveal the exact figures.
They haven't really that information yet, so unfortunately. But that means basically that in a Finnish gaming community, the English is their main language.
Yeah,
Mostly we use, at least in a capital area, because in capital it's even bigger.
Well,
Over
yeah, it was
30%.
already in 2020 it was already over 30%
Yeah,
in capital
yeah.
area companies. So roughly 1/3 of the employees in a capital area were from abroad.
Yeah.
So non-Finnish speakers or moved to Finland to work in the Finnish games industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we've seen these people who come to work in the games, and they can succeed without learning Finnish, because you can, in the capital area, you can speak in English, and that's what they've been saying. Like, maybe they should kind of switch one of the main languages in Finland also to be English, because you can survive pretty well here.
And the rally
Here in
English is
Espoo,
always
English is also one of the official languages for like public services.
Cool.
Only city in Finland, by the way.
Yeah. And the rally English is also accepted. Tires were very good, and I tried to take the corners as sharp as possible. This is rally English, and it's also understood and accepted in Finland. You can see glimpses of rally English if you follow the rally. So how about Peter? What do you think? What we should be doing in studio levels to attract more people?
I think that, as I said, I think it's very easy to attract people to Finland. So that's like 20 minutes and it's like done. So that's like super easy. But then, of course, I mean, you have to go out there and like do it. So I think that if people don't know about Finland and the opportunities, like in games industry, then of course they're not going to wake up one morning and say, okay, I want to go to Finland. But I think that we need to be out there and kind of like sharing the success and also you know, the fantastic lifestyle that you can enjoy here compared to like many other places. So I think that and I think it's super easy to attract, especially if we're looking at like more experienced talent that happen to have like family, have children. It's like super easy because we can offer again fantastic education, safe environment, unlike some other countries.
Fantastic weather in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean the thing is that if weather is the only thing that you know, you can bring up as kind of like a problem, then the problems are like pretty limited. So I mean, here when you go to school, you don't have to start your school day by hiding under your desk to practice for random shootings. And then after that you get up and then you say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, so these are like pretty nice benefits that, you know, like it's safe and we don't like shoot people. And then like in the police here in Finland doesn't shoot you based on the color of your skin or anything like that. So it's like pretty cool for many people to enjoy that kind of like safety and all of that. So I think that we have a lot of like very good and very like real arguments. And then, you know, like if you bring up climate and like November and all of that, unlike some other countries, we have like warm like indoor spaces. So we have the best indoor climate on the planet. This is not like you go to the UK and it's cold outside, cold inside. You know, and, you know, like, come on, it's like super bad. So you know, it's.
You have that in your brochures.
Not exactly.
Yeah, but I mean,
not with those words.
But
maybe you should.
might add that.
But this is reality. I mean, this is like very, very important. I mean, it's we all know, and Finnish people hate freezing. I mean, like hate it. So we want it to be like comfortable indoors.
It's overheated inside then. Yeah.
But it's not like overheated. No, but it's not overheated. This is actually important. If you go to, you know, like for example, China in the winter, go to Beijing, and then you have overheating.
28 degrees.
It's like hot. It's like almost like sauna. You know, and this is like, again, these kind of things that Finnish people are very good at. Oh, but the climate, and nobody wants to come here, and it's so miserable. Hey, we're the happiest country, you know, 6 years running. And when people come from the outside, they understand why. Finnish people don't understand, somebody made a mistake, this can't be true, you know, like, what the fuck? You know, and you know,
nobody
like,
in Finland believes that, by the way.
Exactly, but Finnish, because it's normal. Of course, you know, like what we have here, but it's not normal outside, you know, like in other places. You know, so it's yeah, anyway, so I think that it's super easy, and we just need to get the message out there and tell people about, you know, the thing here is that providing kind of like equal opportunity So, you know, like if you work in a game studio in Finland, you can actually question what the CEO is telling you, and you're not going to get fired. Try doing that in some other countries, you know, saying that, okay, I disagree. Yeah, you're fired. Next one. You know, so like there's, Finnish people are trained to question everything. Why?
But are we?
We are. I mean, we are. We are. But anyway, good point. But anyway, I mean, so this is like, if I ask, you know, like some like Asian people to draw something, they will ask what. But if I ask a Finnish person to draw something, they'll say like, piirrä ite. Why don't you draw it
yourself? Yeah. So actually, you should hire Peter at some point. He might have some very good ideas.
Ambassador.
I'm working for Espoo.
Well, I kind of felt something like that, but that's okay. We need ambassador for the
and Tampere.
Hey, one thing I want to say, people have the tendency to want they always want something they don't have. So, like the weather, you know, maybe we don't have a problem actually, because unfortunately with the climate change, we might have one of the best climate ever here soon.
And we actually already have. Go to Rome in the summer.
Yeah.
No air conditioning, 50 degrees.
Or Barcelona.
You can't escape.
Barcelona.
Yeah, it's like, you know, and that's like super bad. You can't go outside. In Finland, you can go outside every single day of the year. Every day. Not just, you know, like random days when it's like okay weather.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good point of views. So there was once an anecdote that Finns are so good in gaming because we are far north and it's dark all the time during the winter. But then I pointed out that when we go above the Arctic Circle, there is no game studios at all. So if that would be correct, that's the reason that it's dark and cold outside, I think that most of the game studios should locate in North Pole, which they don't. Yeah. But Taina, hey, the same question. Promoting onboarding, what we can do in the for instance, community level, association level, what kind of message we should give out about the Finnish games industry when we are trying to make people make decision to join the Finnish games industry?
Well, what I see in a community level is that we try to make the Finnish game industry on a community level. We try to make it better all the time. So we are working like, okay, we see something's problematic, and then we try to figure out together the ways to do that better. So what I've been liking here is that the ecosystem organizations, they tend to work together. Let's say that there's a person who is like, or the group of people who say like, we don't feel belonging. And then we usually kind of start to think like, okay, how we can make this better. This doesn't mean we don't have a problems, we do. But what I try to say is that we try to tackle the problems, which I find a good way. Also in Finland, I think the companies understand the value of the good workers and they really try to nurture them. One of my friends came from the other industry and they were surprised about that. Like, well, when I told them I'm going to leave, everybody were like, hey, bye-bye, it was so great to have you, come back anytime. And that's not normal in some other industries. So it's like, it's good to keep the good relations because you never know what's going to happen. And we've seen these people going and coming back and this kind of things. So that's what I think all the, not all, but like most of the companies in Finland, they understand the value and they try to help their people, you know, to succeed and enjoy their life.
Yeah. So community provides this kind of background for the people, not only in the industry but also in their civilian lives outside the working places.
Yeah, and I've seen so many initiatives, like people working towards, like, okay, then there is a group who is neglected. Let's try to figure out how we could help them. And I've seen this happening many times. And still there is this process all the time, which I find pretty important.
So basically we don't claim that we don't have problems, but we claim that we have a ways to fix them.
Yeah, at least we try and we are willing to do that, and that is most important thing for me. None of the companies is like perfect in, let's say, in diversity and inclusion and these things, but I've seen so many companies working towards that and thinking about, okay, how we can include these people, how we can think of, and it's getting well. I mean, I followed that pretty closely for 4 years, And I've seen such a results already.
Yeah.
So
when you were in Novian Games, the
yes,
chair of
I
the
forgot
board.
to tell that at the start.
But I think that this is actually very, very important point, and this is also like a very Finnish thing, that Finnish people hate things that don't work. You know, like we like have to fix it. You know, it's just like it makes you feel very like uncomfortable if there's, you know, like what is that's like not working. Let's fix it. And you mentioned that you're from the south of France. Okay, so this is one like story I have to share. So many years ago, I was returning my rental car to the airport in Nice, and Hertz. And then I follow the signs to return my car. And those of you who've been to Nice airport, there's actually 2 locations to return your car. So then when I follow the signs and I get to the rental car return, they tell me that it's the wrong place. And then I said, but I followed the signs. And they told me, yeah, it happens all the time. And it's like, what the fuck? Why don't you fix it? You know, Finnish people like couldn't like what? You know, like you have the signs wrong, fix it. We could never live with that. It's like super bad. But I think that this is very typical, like for Finnish society in general, that we have so many problems and we talk about them all the time, and we actually do something about them. So this is something that I think is very important, that we don't try to kind of like just, oh yeah, we know we have a problem, but you know, like it happens all the time. But we actually, we have to fix those things. So it's far from perfect, but at least we know that we have the problems and we try to do something about them. Very important.
Okay. Time is almost up. We have like 1 minute's time or something like that. Oleg, 1 minute.
Have only 1 minute left.
Yeah. So
Unfortunately,
it's time for since we are Finns, we are punctual. You have 15 seconds for your closing arguments. Starting from there.
I don't know. On top of that, I think over the gaming industry, just to finish, we were mentioning many aspects why it's interesting to be here, to come here, but all this value thing is even more important than before. Like, you know, we didn't talk about that, but the quality of life, you know, like working and personal life, this good, easy, hybrid way, those values of that are very, the happiness in Finland, the equality of genders, all that.
Okay.
15 seconds.
Work-life balance.
Important.
It was
WTF actually means welcome to Finland.
Oh, you won.
And Taina, you have like
because they use my time, I
12
will just
seconds.
say thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So those were the closing arguments. I think I hope that you enjoyed this panel, and I hope that we were able to provide you also some information about Finland. Stay tuned and have a nice day.
thank you very much.